Welcome to Monk's Temple. Please, settle into your space. Let the weight of your day begin to soften at the edges, as you allow your breath to find its own gentle rhythm. Tonight, we are not here to learn something new, but to remember something ancient and true, something that lives in the quiet space between your heartbeats. We are going to speak of letting go. But not as the world sees it, as a loss or a failure. We will see it as the Buddha taught. As the most profound act of courage and clarity, as the necessary breath that makes the next breath possible. I'd like you to imagine, if you will, a single leaf on a great, ancient tree. It is late autumn. This leaf has turned a magnificent, fiery gold. It has clung to its branch through the last warm days, through the brisk winds. It has done its work, turning sunlight into life for the tree. But now, new, colder wind whispers through the branches. The leaf feels a tremble, a deep knowing in its delicate veins. To cling now would require a desperate, brittle strength. It would mean fighting the very rhythm that gave it life in the first place. So, when the next gentle gust comes, the leaf does something extraordinary. It relaxes. It releases its tiny, invisible hold. And it lets go. It doesn't fall as a defeat, it dances. It spirals and floats in a beautiful, golden descent, finally coming to rest on the rich, dark earth below. There, it will become part of the soil that feeds the roots of the very tree it once called home. Its letting go was not an ending of its purpose, but a transformation of it. This, in its simplest form, is what the Buddha taught about attachment and release. We are like that leaf. We cling to seasons that have passed, to roles that have grown tight, to people who are walking a different path. We believe our clinging is loyalty, is love, is strength. But Buddhism, with its gentle and unwavering wisdom, asks us to look deeper. It teaches that clinging, or upadana, is the very root of suffering, of dukkha. It is not that the leaf, or the relationship, or the chapter of life was bad. It is that everything in this world is impermanent, anicca. To cling to what is inherently changing is to set yourself against the current of life itself. And that struggle, that resistance, is where we exhaust our spirit. Let me share with you a story from my own life, many years ago, when this truth was a book I could read but not a language I could speak. I was living in a small, quiet town, in a house that had a beautiful, sprawling willow tree in the backyard. For years, I loved that tree. Its long, graceful branches were my private cathedral. But over time, a strange thing happened. A major branch, thick as my thigh, began to grow not outward, but directly into the side of the house. At first, it was just a faint tapping in the wind. Then, a persistent creak. Then, on stormy nights, a worrisome groan. I could see the siding beginning to strain and crack. Everyone who saw it said the same thing: you need to cut that branch. It's going to damage your home. But I couldn't do it. I had a deep, irrational attachment to the wholeness of the tree. To cut a part of it felt like a violence, a betrayal of its beauty. I told myself I was being compassionate, that I was accepting it as it was. So, I tried compromises. I put a cushion where it hit the house. I tried to gently tie it back. All while the groaning grew louder, and the crack in my wall grew longer. One night, during a ferocious storm, I lay awake listening to that branch slam against the house with a sound like a heartbeat of impending disaster. And in a flash of clarity, I saw my own foolishness. My attachment to the idea of the intact tree was about to destroy the very sanctuary the tree was meant to grace. My inaction, disguised as love, was creating the conditions for a much greater break. At first light, with a heavy heart, I took a saw and did what needed to be done. The sound of the cut was awful. But the silence that followed was profound. The house stopped groaning. The tree, released from the unnatural pressure, seemed to sigh, and its other branches swayed more freely. The wound where the branch had been healed over in time, a neat scar. And the branch itself? I had it cut and seasoned, and later, I used the wood to carve a simple bowl. The tree had not been destroyed, it had been saved, and its gift had been transformed. Buddhism teaches us about right action. Sometimes, the most right, the most compassionate action, is the one that feels like a cutting away. My attachment to the unbroken image of the tree was not wisdom. It was sentimentality rooted in fear, fear of being the one who caused change, fear of the scar, fear of the unknown shape of the tree after. But life was already causing the change. My job was not to prevent the inevitable, but to align with it wisely, to prevent greater harm. That branch was a relationship in my life. It was a dynamic that had once grown beautifully, but had slowly begun to grow in a direction that was damaging my inner home, my peace, my clarity, my spirit. My attempts to cushion it, to tie it back, were my negotiations, my excuses, my fears of being cruel. But true cruelty was allowing the slow, grating destruction to continue. Letting go was the clean cut. It hurt. It left a scar. But it saved the integrity of both my inner home and the essential spirit of the connection, which could then be remembered for its beauty, not its damage. We cling because we confuse the map for the territory. We fall in love with the route we plotted, and when the road washes out, we insist on trying to drive through the mud rather than acknowledging the bridge is gone. The Buddha taught us to see things as they are, yathartha. Not as they were, not as we wish they could be, but as they are, right now. This very moment. When you look with that clear, compassionate eyes, you often see that the loving act is not the desperate clutch, but the open hand. If this space of gentle truth resonates with you, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. By subscribing, you simply plant a seed, ensuring this sanctuary of calm and clarity is here for you whenever you need to remember how to breathe, how to see clearly, how to come home to yourself. Your presence here is a gift. Now, let me tell you another story, about a pot of tea. Let me tell you about a pot of tea. When I was first learning to sit in meditation, my teacher would make tea. It was a ritual. He would boil the water, warm the pot, measure the leaves. But one day, he poured the hot water over the leaves and then immediately began to pour the tea into our cups. It was pale, watery, flavorless. I must have made a face, because he smiled. "You are in a hurry," he said. "You want the tea, but you are not giving it time to steep. You are pouring away the water before it has become tea." Then he prepared another pot. This time, after pouring the water, he set the pot down and we simply sat. We sat in silence for 3 or 4 minutes. Then, he poured. The tea was a deep amber, fragrant, rich with flavor. "The tea," he said softly, "needs the space of stillness to become itself. If you are too eager to have it, you only get hot water." For years, I misunderstood letting go as that first pour, a hurried, premature emptying, an abandonment before anything had been realized. I thought it meant cutting things off at the first sign of difficulty, avoiding the steep. But that is not release, that is fear. That is running from the process. True letting go, as Buddhism guides us, is what happens after the full steep. It is allowing the experience, the relationship, the chapter, to fully become what it is meant to be, to extract its full flavor, its lesson, its truth. And then, when the steep is complete, you pour it out. Not because you hate the tea, but because you have truly received its gift. The leaves are spent. To keep them in the water longer only makes the tea bitter. Letting go is pouring out the perfect cup, drinking it deeply, and then calmly emptying the pot to make space for a new infusion. The wisdom is in knowing when the steep is complete. This knowing is not an intellectual calculation. It is a felt sense in the body, a quiet knowing in the spirit. You feel it as a completion, a natural ending, a sense that the lesson has been learned, the love has been shared, the growth has occurred. To cling beyond that point is to force yourself to drink bitter tea, long after the nourishment is gone. I carried a bitter tea for a long time. It was a dream I had, a specific vision of a life I was supposed to build. I steeped in this dream for years, pouring all my energy into it. But life, in its gentle way, kept showing me that this particular dream was not aligning. Opportunities for it dried up. My own heart began to lose its passion for the flavor. Yet, I refused to pour it out. I kept adding more hot water to the same spent leaves, trying to force more tea from them, only making the pot more bitter and myself more frustrated. I was attached to the idea of that tea, to the identity of being the person who would drink it. One morning, in a moment of exhaustion, I simply stopped. I took the pot, walked to the sink, and turned it over. I watched the dark, over-steeped liquid swirl down the drain. The action felt shocking, almost sacrilegious. But the moment the pot was empty and rinsed, I felt a space open in my chest that I hadn't realized was so constricted. It was the space where that old dream had been fermenting. Into that clean, empty space, a new curiosity began to whisper. It wasn't a loud, exciting dream yet, just a quiet question: what kind of tea would you actually enjoy drinking now? The Buddha taught mudita, sympathetic joy, and upekkha, equanimity. To pour out the spent tea is an act of upekkha, a balanced, peaceful release. It creates the clean space for mudita, the joy in discovering what new blend life might offer next. My clinging was a rejection of both. It was a stagnant attachment to a past desire that blocked any present or future joy. We often think our attachments are to people or things, but often, they are to the stories we tell about ourselves. The story of the one who achieves that dream, the one who fixes that person, the one who endures. These stories are like tiny, intricate cages we build around our hearts. We mistake the cage for structure, for identity. Letting go is not running from the cage, it is finally seeing the bars, and realizing the door has been open all along. It is the courage to step out into the open field of not knowing who you are without that story. It is terrifying for a moment, and then, it is the very definition of freedom. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a vast, clear sky. Thoughts, feelings, memories, they are like weather. Some days are sunny and clear, joyful, peaceful thoughts. Some days are stormy, anger, grief, anxiety. Our instinct is to become a frantic weather controller. We see a storm cloud of a painful memory approaching and we run out with nets and fans, trying to push it away, screaming at the sky to be blue. Or, we see a beautiful, peaceful cloud and we try to nail it in place, to make the perfect weather permanent. Both are exhausting, and both are impossible. Buddhism invites us to a different relationship. It asks us to build a sturdy, open-sided shelter, the shelter of mindfulness, of awareness. Then, we simply go and sit in the shelter. We watch the weather of our mind come and go. We feel the chill of the rain, the warmth of the sun, the roar of the wind. We don't deny the storm, we acknowledge, a storm is here. We don't cling to the sun, we appreciate, the sun is warm. But we do not mistake ourselves for the storm or the sun. We are the aware space watching the weather. The storm, no matter how violent, will pass. The sun, no matter how glorious, will set. Letting go is taking your seat in that shelter. It is releasing the futile job of weather controller. It is saying, I am not this anxiety. I am the one who feels it. It will pass. I am not this failed relationship. I am the one who learned from it. Its season is over. When you stop identifying with the passing weather, you discover a profound, unshakable stillness behind it all. That stillness is not cold or detached. It is the deepest kind of compassion. A space big enough to hold all your experiences without being destroyed by any of them. I used to be a terrible weather controller. A negative thought would appear, and I would spend hours, days, in a battle with it, arguing with it, feeding it with my resistance. I was a slave to every cloud that passed. My practice, my stumbling journey with the Buddhist teachings, has been the slow, patient construction of that inner shelter. It's not a place I hide. It's a place I come to see. From here, I can watch the storm of grief over what I've released, and I don't drown in it. I can feel the warm sun of a new connection, and I don't desperately try to trap it. I am learning to let the weather be. And in that allowing, a strange thing happens. The most turbulent storms often pass more quickly, and the clear skies feel more deeply peaceful. So, as you breathe here with me, consider this. What weather are you trying to control in your life right now? What storm are you fighting, or what perfect condition are you trying to freeze in place? Can you feel the exhaustion of that effort? Now, imagine, just for this breath, putting down the nets and the fans. Imagine building, right in the center of your being, a simple, strong shelter of kind awareness. And just go sit there. Watch. Feel. Breathe. You are not the storm. You are the vast, open sky that holds it. And the sky is never damaged by the weather. Let's speak of a different kind of space, not the sky, but the soil. Imagine you are a gardener. You have a small, precious plot of land, the garden of your spirit. In it, you wish to grow peace, wisdom, compassion, joy. These are the perennial flowers of a soulful life. But your garden is crowded. It is overflowing with many other plants, some you planted long ago, some that seeded themselves. There is the thick, thorny bush of an old resentment. The creeping vine of a chronic worry, winding around everything. A tall, showy but hollow stalk of a persona you show to the world. And there, in the prime sunny spot, is a beautiful, fragrant rose of a relationship, but its roots have become entangled with a poisonous weed, and now the rose itself is looking sickly. You walk through this garden every day. You feel overwhelmed, tired. The flowers you long for, peace, joy, are stunted, struggling for light and space. But when you consider pulling out the thorny bush, a voice whispers, "But it's part of the garden. It's been there so long." When you look at the rose and the poison weed, your heart aches. If I pull the weed, I might damage the rose. Maybe the weed isn't so bad. Maybe the rose will overcome it. This, the Buddha might say, is the garden of samsara, the cycle of suffering caused by craving and clinging. We know what harms our inner peace, but we are attached to the familiar shapes in our plot, even the painful ones. We are afraid of the empty space that weeding would create. We fear that in removing the harmful thing, we might lose something good that is tangled up with it. So we tolerate. We negotiate. We hope the poison weed will magically become a daisy. Letting go is the work of the courageous gardener. It is the conscious, sometimes painful, act of weeding. It is looking clearly at your inner landscape and asking, does this plant serve the life I wish to grow here? If the answer is no, you must gently, firmly, pull it up by the roots. The rose may suffer a shock. It may wilt for a time. But you have given it its only chance to truly thrive. And you have created a patch of fertile emptiness where a new, healthier companion plant can someday grow. I was a negligent gardener for decades. My plot was a chaotic tangle. The thorny bush of a past injustice took up a quarter of my space. I watered it with my retelling of the story. I pruned it just enough so it wouldn't completely overtake me, but I never dared to dig it out. I thought if I removed it, I would be saying the pain didn't matter. Buddhism taught me a finer distinction: you can honor the truth of a painful experience without building a permanent shrine to it in the center of your living heart. Honoring it might mean saying, yes, that hurt. It taught me about boundaries. Now, I will lay it to rest so new life can grow here. The day I finally put on my gloves, took a spade, and began the long work of digging out that thorny bush, I cried. It felt like a betrayal of my own history. But with every root that came up, I felt lighter. The soil of my soul, dark and rich, was finally exposed to the air again. It was ready. It took time, but eventually, in that cleared space, I planted seeds of forgiveness. First for myself, for carrying it so long, and then, in a quiet way, for the situation. What grew wasn't forgetfulness, but a quiet, resilient wildflower of wisdom. It didn't bloom loudly, but it was strong. The Buddha's path is one of cultivation, bhavana. We cultivate wholesome states and abandon unwholesome ones. This is not a metaphor. It is a practical instruction for tending your inner world. Letting go is the abandoning part. You cannot cultivate peace while you are watering resentment. You must choose which you want more, the familiar presence of the thorn, or the unfamiliar freedom of the clear space. Now, imagine another scene. You are standing on the bank of a wide, calm river. On your back, you carry a heavy, oversized backpack. It is filled with stones. Each stone is labeled, my past mistakes, their expectations of me, the future I fear, the opinion of that person. The pack is so heavy it bends your spine. You are staring at a simple, wooden boat tied to the dock. It is time to cross the river to the other side, where a new chapter of your life waits. But you cannot get into the boat with that pack. It will sink immediately. What do? You have three choices. 1. You can refuse to cross. You can sit on the bank forever, defined by the weight of your stones. 2. You can try to get in the boat with the pack. You will sink and drown in the very things you carry. Or 3, you can begin, one by one, to take the stones out of your pack and lay them gently on the bank. This is letting go. It is not denying the stones existed. It is simply acknowledging, this weight is not necessary for the journey ahead. I can leave it here. We often think we need our stones to be who we are. My past mistakes made me wise. Yes, but you don't need to carry the weight of the shame, only the lesson of the experience. Their expectations make me try harder. But are you trying for them, or for you? The boat is your present life, moving forward. The river is the flow of time. You cannot navigate the current while anchored to the shore by yesterday's burdens. I had a stone in my pack for years labeled, "I am not a real writer." It came from a single, offhand comment someone made decades ago. I carried that stone everywhere. It shaped my posture. It made me hesitate before sharing my words. It was a cold, hard weight in my chest. One day, standing at my own symbolic riverbank, I realized I would never get where I wanted to go if I didn't put it down. So, I opened my pack. I took out that smooth, cold stone. I held it in my hand, felt its familiar heaviness. I thanked it, oddly. I said, "You made me cautious. But I don't need caution anymore. I need courage." And I placed it on the ground. I didn't throw it in the river to make a splash, I just set it down. The relief was not dramatic, but profound. My shoulders went back. My breath deepened. The boat of my creative spirit suddenly rode higher in the water. This is the practice Buddhism encourages, mindful renunciation. It is not a dramatic, world-denying asceticism. It is the daily, gentle setting down of the burdens that do not serve your crossing. You examine your pack, your mind, your habits, your relationships, and you ask, is this necessary for my peace? For my growth? For this next step? If it is not, you have the right to lay it down. You are not your backpack. You are the traveler. The traveler must be light enough to move. So, tonight, in the quiet of your own heart, I invite you to do a simple inventory. Not a harsh one, but a kind one. Picture your inner garden. What is one plant, a worry, a grudge, an old story, that is taking sunlight and water from the flowers you truly wish to grow? Can you see it? Just look at it with compassion. You don't have to pull it tonight. Just acknowledge it is there. Now, picture your backpack on the riverbank. What is one stone you have been carrying that you know, deep down, you do not need for the journey ahead? Can you feel its weight? Imagine, just for a moment, unshouldering the pack, opening it, and placing that one stone on the soft earth. Feel the slight shift in your posture. The slight expansion in your chest. That space, that lightness, is where your future begins to breathe. Let's talk about sound. Not music, but the foundational note of your existence. Imagine that within you, there is a single, pure, resonant tone. It is the note of your essential being, calm, clear, and unwavering. This is your intrinsic peace. But around this core tone, a cacophony has built up. There's the frantic, high-pitched strings of anxiety. The repetitive, dull drumbeat of obligation. The shrill wind instrument of someone else's demand. The fuzzy static of unresolved past conversations. This noise is so constant, so loud, that you have forgotten the central tone entirely. You believe you are the cacophony. Your entire life becomes an attempt to manage the noise, to tune the strings, to muffle the drum, to answer the wind instrument. It is exhausting, and it never brings silence. Buddhism introduces the practice of stillness not to create a new silence, but to uncover the one that has always been there. It is not about stopping the external noises of life. It is about turning your attention away from the orchestra of attachment and back to the foundational tone of your own awareness. Letting go, in this sense, is not silencing the world. It is simply ceasing to amplify the noise by leaning into it. It is the gentle, internal step back where you stop trying to conduct the chaos and instead listen for the one note that does not change. I lived for years inside a very loud internal room. The noise was my own spinning thoughts. Planning, worrying, rehashing, judging. I thought this was thinking, this was being conscientious. It was a form of imprisonment. My first meditation teacher gave me an image. He said, imagine your thoughts are like cars on a busy highway outside your house. You have been standing on the shoulder, trying to flag down every car, asking where it's going, trying to give it directions. You are exhausted by the traffic. The practice is to go inside your house, sit in your favorite chair by the window, and just watch the cars go by. You don't have to stop them. You don't have to know their destination. You can just watch. You are in the house. The cars are on the road. They are not the same. This was a revelation. Letting go was not about stopping the traffic of my mind, an impossible task. It was about releasing my identification with the traffic controller. It was about moving from the shoulder of the highway into the house of my own witnessing presence. From there, the noise was still audible, but it was over there. And here, in the house, there was a space, a stillness, that had been waiting for me all along. That stillness is what the Buddha called the unconditioned asankata, not dependent on the coming and going of thoughts, feelings, or external events. Your attachments are the cars you have run out to stop. The relationship you're trying to fix is a car you've thrown yourself in front of. The regret you're ruminating on is a car you've jumped into and are now driving in circles. The worry about the future is a car you're desperately trying to hail. Letting go is the tiring, blessed moment you give up. You walk off the shoulder, through the garden, and back into the house of yourself. You sit down. You are safe. The cars keep going. But you are no longer in the road. Now, I'd like to tell you a story about a wall. Not a metaphorical one, but a real, physical wall in the first monastery I ever visited. It was in the meditation hall. It was just a plain, whitewashed wall. For the first few days, I hated that wall. Sitting before it in silence, it felt like a barrier, a blank, stupid thing representing the emptiness of the practice. My mind railed against it. It was boring. It was pointless. But as the days turned into a week, something shifted. The wall didn't change. I did. My frantic mind, with nothing to latch onto but that wall, began to settle. I started to see not a blank barrier, but a universe of subtle detail. The texture of the plaster, the faint variations in the whitewash, the way the light changed throughout the day, casting soft, moving shadows. The wall wasn't empty, it was profoundly, quietly full. And it wasn't keeping me out, it was giving me a place to rest my awareness. It was a mirror, reflecting back the noise of my own mind until the noise grew tired and settled, and all that was left was simple, attentive presence. That wall taught me more about letting go than any scripture. My problem wasn't the wall, it was my resistance to it. My suffering wasn't in the silence, it was in my war against the silence. I was attached to stimulation, to mental activity, to story. The wall, in its gentle, unmoving way, asked me to release that attachment. And when I finally did, not with a grand decision but with a weary surrender, I found not emptiness, but a rich, textured presence that was infinitely more satisfying than my mental chatter. We build walls in our lives, don't we? Walls of habit, walls of routine, walls of familiar relationships. We think they are keeping us safe, defining our space. But sometimes, we outgrow the room those walls create. The ceiling feels too low. The air grows stale. Letting go can feel like taking a sledgehammer to a wall, a violent, destructive act. But what if, instead, you simply recognize that you have been staring at the inside of the wall for years, thinking it was the whole world? Letting go is the simple, turning movement where you stop facing the plaster and turn around. And there, you discover the wall had a door in it all along, and beyond it, a field you never knew was there. The wall wasn't a prison, your fixation on it was. The Buddha's teachings often guide us to look at what we take for granted, to question our most basic assumptions. We assume a difficult relationship must be maintained. We assume a painful emotion must be fought. We assume the familiar wall is the boundary of our world. Letting go begins with a question: is this true? Or is there a door I have refused to see? Let me share a more personal story of a door I refused to see. For over a decade, I held a volunteer position that I initially loved. It gave me community, purpose, and identity. But slowly, the organization changed. The work became bureaucratic, the spirit of it faded, and it began to drain me more than fill me. Yet, I stayed. The wall of my identity, I am the person who does this important work, was so solid, I couldn't imagine the space without it. Quitting felt like ripping out a part of my soul. It felt like a betrayal of my past commitment. One afternoon, after a particularly draining meeting, I was driving home in a fog of resentment. I passed a small community garden I'd never noticed before. On a whim, I stopped. I walked among the raised beds, saw people quietly tending to plants, smiling. No one knew me here. I had no role. I was just a person noticing tomatoes. In that moment, standing in the sun with dirt under my shoes, the wall in my mind simply vanished. I saw the door. The door was simply walking away from a role that no longer served life, mine or the organization's. It wasn't a dramatic explosion. It was a quiet turning. I gave my notice the next week. The act of leaving was, of course, met with some surprise and some guilt. But the moment I walked through that door, the field of fresh air that met me was astonishing. The identity wall was gone, and instead of a terrifying void, I found open sky. New interests, quieter and more authentic connections, and a renewed energy for my own personal garden slowly began to grow. I hadn't lost myself by leaving the wall behind. I had been lost within the wall, mistaking its confines for myself. This is the subtle promise at the heart of the Buddha's wisdom. Letting go feels like loss only from the perspective of the small self that is defined by its attachments. From the perspective of the larger, aware self, it is a homecoming. It is the relief of putting down a mask you forgot you were wearing. The mask might have been beautiful, or useful, or familiar. But underneath, your own face has been waiting to feel the air. So, as we breathe together now, I invite you to consider, where in your life are you facing a wall, believing it is the limit of your world? Could you, just as a gentle experiment in your mind, turn around? Don't break the wall. Just turn. Look for the door that might be there, hidden in plain sight by your assumption that the wall is all there is. And listen. Beneath the noise of your daily worries and wants, can you sense it? That single, pure, resonant tone of your own being. It has never left you. It has just been waiting for you to stop conducting the noise long enough to hear it again. Let us speak of water. Not the river from earlier, but a single cup of water. Imagine you are holding a clear glass, filled to the brim. Now, imagine stirring the water with your finger. Swirl it fast. See how the water churns, how bubbles and vortices form, how the surface becomes a chaotic, broken mirror. If you try to look at your reflection in it now, you see only distortion, a fractured, frantic image. This is the mind in a state of attachment. Clinging to thoughts, to outcomes, to people, is like stirring the water endlessly. We keep it in motion because we fear what we might see, or not see, if it becomes still. We mistake the chaos for aliveness. Now, stop stirring. Place the glass gently on a stable surface. What happens? Slowly, surely, the motion settles. The bubbles rise and pop. The turbulence gives way to calm. The particles of silt sink to the bottom. And soon, the water becomes clear, still, like a perfect lens. Now, you can see through it. You can see your reflection, not as a distortion, but with clarity. You can see the details of the table beneath it. The water hasn't gone away. It has become itself again, receptive, reflective, transparent. This settling is what the Buddha called samatha, calm abiding. It is not a passive state of nothingness. It is an active, profound clarity that emerges when we stop agitating the water of our mind with the stick of craving and aversion. Letting go is the act of taking your finger out of the glass. It is ceasing to stir. It is having the faith that stillness is not death, but the precondition for true seeing. For most of my life, I was a master stirrer. If my mind water wasn't churning with planning, it was swirling with regret. If it wasn't that, it was frothing with anxiety about someone else's glass. I believed this mental activity was productivity, was care, was love. I was afraid of the stillness, because in the quiet, I feared I would encounter a void, an emptiness that meant I was not enough. So I kept stirring, creating problems to solve, dramas to manage, just to have evidence of the water's movement. My first real experience of taking my finger out of the glass came during a 10-day silent retreat. By the fourth day, my usual stirring tactics, fantasizing, reminiscing, planning, were exhausted. My mind grew bored with its own chaos. In that exhaustion, there was a moment of surrender. I simply stopped. I stopped trying to meditate well. I stopped fighting my boredom. I just sat, aware of the breath, aware of the ache in my knees, aware of the bird sounds outside. And in that simple, weary cessation of effort, the water in the glass of my mind began, for the first time I could remember, to settle. It wasn't a dramatic vision. It was a gentle, pervasive quiet. And in that quiet, I saw a simple, devastating truth: I had been creating most of my own suffering. The pain of my past was a sediment at the bottom of the glass, but I was the one constantly stirring it up, keeping the whole vessel murky. The stillness was not an emptiness to fear, it was the clarity I had been seeking all along. Buddhism teaches that our true nature is like that clear, still water. The Buddha called it Buddha nature, the inherent potential for wakefulness and peace in all beings. Our attachments, our aversions, our ignorance, these are the stirring motions. They are not who we are, they are what we do. And we can stop doing them. This is the great hope at the heart of the teaching: suffering is not mandatory. It is optional. It depends on whether you choose to keep stirring. Now, let's consider another image, the familiar path through the woods. You have walked the same path every day for years. You know every route, every turn, where the mud is after rain. It is safe. It is known. But off to the side, you have always noticed a faint, overgrown animal trail leading into a denser part of the forest. You feel a pull toward it, a curiosity, a whisper of adventure. Yet, you never take it. Why? Because the known path gets you where you think you need to go. The animal trail is uncertain. It might lead to a beautiful clearing, or it might lead to a dead end. It might have thorns. So, day after day, you choose the known path, even as your spirit dims a little with each predictable step. Your attachments are that known path. The job that's secure but soul-crushing. The relationship that's comfortable but growth-stifling. The story about yourself that's limiting but familiar. Letting go is the courage to step off the paved path and push aside the first branch on the overgrown trail. It is an act of faith in your own resilience and in the intelligence of life itself. The Buddha did not find enlightenment by staying on the palace path, nor by staying on the extreme ascetic's path. He found it by forging a middle way, a new trail that had not been mapped before. I lived on a known path for many years. It was the path of academic achievement. It was paved with grades, degrees, and approvals. I was good at it. But with each step, I felt my inner world becoming quieter, more intellectualized, less alive. The pull toward the overgrown trail was my love for simple, hands-on work, for gardening, for woodworking, for things that had no grade, only inherent satisfaction. I dismissed it as a hobby, a distraction from the real path. Then, during a period of intense stress on my known path, I broke. I simply stopped walking. I walked into my backyard, overgrown and neglected, and I started pulling weeds. I didn't think. I just felt the earth, the resistance of roots, the sun on my neck. Hours passed. And in that physical, silent labor, on that utterly unknown and unimportant trail, my spirit began to breathe again. That was the beginning of a years-long turning. I didn't abandon my education, but I let go of my exclusive identity as an academic. I made space for the gardener, the maker. The new, blended path that emerged, one of teaching that included these hands-on metaphors, was infinitely more alive and true to who I was than the narrow, known path could ever have been. The Buddha taught about the Eightfold Path, a path to the end of suffering. It is not a singular, rigid road, but a set of guidelines for wise walking. Right view helps you see that the overgrown trail might hold more truth than the paved road of habit. Right intention gives you the courage to step toward it. Letting go is embedded in every step. Letting go of the view that safety is only on the known path, letting go of the intention to only please others, letting go of the speech, action, and livelihood that keep you confined. We cling to the known path because we overestimate the safety of familiarity and underestimate the vitality of the unknown. We think, what if I get lost? But Buddhism asks a more profound question: aren't you already lost, if you are walking a path that leads away from your own aliveness? So, as you rest here, let your awareness be that cup of water. Notice if you are stirring it. With thoughts of what you should be doing, with worries about tomorrow, with regrets about yesterday. You don't have to force the stillness. Just notice the stirring. And then, experiment with taking your finger out, just for this breath. Let the glass sit on the stable surface of this present moment. And wait. Allow the settling to begin. It may be subtle. It may just be one less thought, one moment of quiet between heartbeats. That is enough. That is the beginning of seeing clearly. And then, in that slightly clearer space, ask your heart, where in my life am I walking a known, paved path out of habit, while my spirit is longing to glance at the overgrown trail? You don't have to plunge into the forest tonight. Just allow yourself to look at the trailhead. To acknowledge it exists. That acknowledgement itself is a sacred act of letting go. Letting go of the pretense that there is no other way. Consider the humble spider. It spends its energy crafting an intricate, beautiful web. The design is perfect, strong radial lines, a sticky spiral, a masterpiece of engineering and patience. The web is its world, its means of nourishment, its home. Now, imagine a strong wind comes, or a large branch falls. The web is utterly destroyed. Tangled, broken, useless. What does the spider do? It does not spend days weeping over the loss, trying to tape the broken threads back together. It does not sit in the center of the wreckage, lamenting its wasted effort. It does not declare itself a failure. It simply, calmly, begins to spin a new web. It uses the same silk from within itself, but it assesses the new anchors, perhaps a different branch, a changed angle to the light. It builds again, informed by the past, but not bound to its form. We are not so wise. We build webs of identity, of relationship, of career, of belief. And when life brings a wind, a loss, a change, a betrayal, we often collapse into the center of the wreckage. We worship the broken web. We call the debris my life and mourn it. We try to repair what cannot be repaired, clinging to the ghost of a structure that no longer serves its function. Our suffering is not in the wind simply blows. Our suffering is in our refusal to begin spinning again. The Buddha taught that all conditioned things are anatta, not self. Our webs, our identities, our achievements, our relationships, are conditioned. They are wonderful, functional, beautiful creations. But they are not us. We are the spider, not the web. The spider's essence is its capacity to spin, to create, to adapt. Your essence is awareness, consciousness, the capacity to meet experience and respond with wisdom and compassion. When you cling to a broken web, you confuse yourself for your creation. You forget you are the spinner. I built a magnificent web once. It was my identity as a helper, a fixer. My radial lines connected me to people in need. My sticky spiral was my always available advice and emotional labor. It felt purposeful, important. Then, several winds came at once. People I helped moved on without a glance back. My advice was ignored, leading to consequences I had to watch. I burned out, exhausted. My web was in tatters, and I sat in the middle of it, feeling used, angry, and worthless. I had attached my entire sense of value to the function of the web. When the web failed, I believed I had failed. It took a long time and much listening to the Dharma to understand, I am not the web of helping. I am the capacity to care. The old web's design was flawed, it depended on others' outcomes for my stability. Its destruction was not a tragedy, but a necessary clearing. The lesson wasn't to stop spinning, but to learn to spin a different kind of web, one anchored not in others' needs, but in a deeper, more stable understanding. A web of quiet presence, spun from a place of inner fullness, that could offer a safe space for others without demanding they get caught in it to prove my worth. This is the movement from attachment to non-attachment that Buddhism points to. Non-attachment is not cold indifference. It is the spider-wise detachment from the form of the last web, so it is free to engage fully with the process of spinning the next one. It is love without clutch, care without control. Let's shift the image. Imagine you are a tree in a dense forest. For 100 years, the tree next to you has been your companion. Your roots intertwined under the soil, sharing nutrients. Your branches grew in a careful dance, giving each other space for sunlight. You grew together, shaped by each other's presence. Then, one season, the other tree does not leaf out. It has died. It is now a tall, gray skeleton. What does the living tree do? It does not wither in protest. It does not try to hold up the dead tree's branches. Slowly, with the patience of a century, it does two things. First, it disentangles its roots. It redirects its nourishment back to itself. Second, it gradually, incrementally, begins to grow its branches into the new space of light that the death has opened. It does not forget the companion, that shared history is in its very rings. But it honors the companionship by continuing to live, fully, in the new conditions. Some relationships in our lives are like that companion tree. They were mutual, growth-enhancing, intertwined for a season, or for many seasons. But then, one person stops growing. The relationship, as a living, reciprocal thing, dies. It becomes a structure of habit, memory, or obligation. We then face a choice: do we entwine our roots around a corpse, sharing our vitality with what can no longer receive it, living in the shadow of a dead thing? Or do we, with grief and great respect, begin the slow, gentle work of disentanglement, and turn our growth toward the new light? This is one of the most painful forms of letting go, because it involves honoring a true loss. Buddhism does not bypass grief. It makes room for it. It teaches that grief is the natural, loving response to the end of something precious. Clinging is what happens when we refuse to move through the grief. We build a shrine inside the hollow trunk of the dead relationship and try to live there. Letting go is the courageous, day-by-day process of stepping out of the shrine, feeling the unfamiliar sun on your bark, and allowing a new, solo growth to begin. You are not betraying the past. You are being faithful to the law of life, which is growth toward light. I had a friendship that was a companion tree for over 15 years. We grew up together, supported each other's early dreams. Then, our values began to diverge. My path turned inward, toward contemplation and simplicity. Theirs turned outward, toward acquisition and status. The conversations became strained, a careful dance around the widening gap. The life had gone out of it. For years, I pretended it was still alive. I forced interactions, ignoring the hollow feeling. I was clinging to the history, to the rings of shared memory. The letting go was not a confrontation. It was a quiet cessation of effort. I stopped initiating. I stopped forcing shared activities. The disentanglement was slow and sad. But as the space opened, I realized how much energy I had been spending to maintain a ghost. That energy returned to me. I began to grow in new directions, joining a meditation group, taking a writing class, where I met new trees whose current growth was aligned with my own. The old friend is still part of my forest. I wish them well. But we are no longer intertwined. We each grow in our own light, and that is as it should be. The Buddha taught that clinging arises from ignorance, avijja, of the way things really are. We ignorantly believe permanence is possible, that our happiness depends on keeping specific forms intact. Wisdom, panna, sees the truth of impermanence and interdependence. The wise heart knows that sometimes the most interdependent thing you can do is to release a bond that has become binding, so that both beings can find their rightful place in the ever-changing ecosystem of life. So, tonight, be the spider. If you are sitting in the wreckage of an old web, a broken dream, a changed identity, know that you are not the wreckage. You are the spinner. Your silk is within you, your resilience, your creativity, your capacity to begin again. And be the tree. If you are rooted next to something that has ceased to grow, feel the truth of that with kindness. The disentanglement is not a betrayal. It is an act of integrity, for you, and in a strange way, for the memory of what was. Honor the grief. Then, feel for the new space of light. Your very nature is to grow toward it. Let us speak of light and shadow. In every room, light streaming through a window casts both illumination and shadow. The shadow is not an enemy of the light. It is its natural companion, defined by the presence of an object blocking the light. We spend an inordinate amount of energy trying to chase away our shadows, our doubts, our fears, our perceived flaws. We contort ourselves, move furniture, even try to board up the window, all to avoid seeing that dark shape on the floor. But the shadow only moves, it does not disappear. Our avoidance of it becomes a full-time occupation that keeps us from simply enjoying the light. Buddhism invites a radical reorientation. What if you stopped running from the shadow? What if you simply turned and faced the light source itself? When you fully face the light of awareness, of present moment truth, the shadow falls behind you. You may know it's there, but you no longer see it stretching before you, distorting your path. Your attention is on the illumination, not the darkness it creates. Letting go, in this sense, is not an exhausting battle to obliterate your shortcomings or painful memories. It is a gentle turning of your attention. You release your fixation on the shadow, the problem, the lack, the past mistake, and you turn your face toward the light of what is true, good, and possible right now. I spent years in a room where I had carefully arranged my entire life to avoid a specific shadow. It was the shadow of not being good enough, cast by some early experiences. I became an over-preparer, an overachiever, a chronic people-pleaser, all elaborate pieces of furniture I pushed around to try and hide that dark shape on the floor. The room became a cramped, illogical maze, and I was always tired from the effort of moving things. I never enjoyed the light, because I was always looking at the floor, checking if the shadow was visible. One day, in a therapist's office of all places, she said something simple: "What if you just let the shadow be? What if you stop trying to hide it and just let it lie there?" The idea was terrifying. It felt like accepting a permanent flaw. But in my exhaustion, I tried. I stopped, mentally, and just looked at the shadow. I acknowledged its shape. Ah, there is the fear of inadequacy. And then, almost as an afterthought, I looked up. I saw the window. The light streaming in was the simple fact of my aliveness, my capacity to learn, my ability to be kind in this very moment. For the first time, I wasn't facing the shadow, I was facing the light. The shadow was still there, but it was behind me. My path forward was illuminated. Letting go was not about destroying the shadow, it was about changing my direction. This is the essence of much Buddhist practice. We don't fight unwholesome thoughts, we cultivate wholesome ones. We don't wrestle with hatred, we nurture loving kindness. We turn toward the light. The shadow hasn't vanished, but it loses its power to define our landscape. Now, consider a different metaphor: the ship's anchor. An anchor has a single, vital purpose: to hold the ship steady in a specific spot, to prevent drift. It is essential when you need to stop, to rest, to fish in familiar waters. But imagine the ship's captain becomes so attached to the security of being anchored that he refuses to ever pull it up. The ship is safe, yes. But it is also going nowhere. It cannot explore new coastlines, find new fishing grounds, or reach its intended destination. The very tool that provided temporary stability becomes the instrument of permanent stagnation. Our attachments are anchors. A belief about ourselves, a comfortable routine, a relationship that provides predictable reassurance, these can hold us securely in a familiar emotional harbor. And harbors are necessary. But we are not meant to live our entire voyage in one. The Buddha's teachings are a call to voyage, to explore the nature of reality, to seek the far shore of liberation. To do that, you must be willing to pull up your anchors. It feels risky. The sea is deep and unknown. But the ship is seaworthy, you are resilient. And the destination is not a new piece of land, but the freedom of sailing itself. I anchored myself for a long time in the harbor of intellectual certainty. I was a person who had answers, who could analyze and explain. It made me feel competent, unshakable. But it also made me rigid, afraid of questions that had no clear answers, impatient with mystery. My spiritual seeking was itself an intellectual exercise, another way to drop anchor. When I first encountered meditation, I tried to anchor it too, to turn it into a technique with predictable results. It didn't work. The practice gently, insistently, asked me to pull up anchor and float. The first time I truly experienced a moment of not knowing, of pure, quiet being without a mental anchor, was terrifying. My mind scrambled for a concept to grasp. But there was none. I was just afloat. And in that floating, after the panic subsided, I discovered a peace that was vaster and more profound than any certainty I had ever clung to. I had to learn to sail in that openness. Letting go of my anchor of knowing was the beginning of actual wisdom. The Buddha often used the metaphor of the raft. The teachings, the practices, are a raft to cross the river of suffering. But, he said, would you carry the raft on your back after you've reached the other shore? No. You let it go. You have gratitude for it, but you don't cling to it. Every attachment, even to spiritual ideas or practices, can become an anchor if we refuse to move on from them. The goal is freedom, not the comfort of any particular vessel. So, where in your life are you facing a shadow, wearing yourself out by rearranging furniture to avoid it? Could you, just for now, stop? Could you simply turn your gaze, gently, toward a source of light? It might be your next breath. It might be the sensation of your body supported by the chair. It might be a memory of a moment of kindness. Face that. Let the shadow fall where it may. And where have you dropped anchor? In what harbor of familiarity are you staying long past the time it's nourishing? What belief, habit, or dynamic is holding you securely in place, while your soul longs to set sail? You don't have to cut the anchor line in a fury. Just feel its weight. Consider the possibility of pulling it up, slowly, hand over hand, and feeling the subtle, frightening, thrilling shift as your ship, your life, becomes free to move with the current of your deepest calling. Letting go is not always a grand departure. Often, it is this, a turning of the face. A gentle pull on a chain. A choice to stop staring at the dark shape on the floor and to look, instead, at the window. We have walked through many landscapes together, gardens, rivers, skies, and quiet rooms. We have spoken of webs, anchors, shadows, and light. Now, let us come to the simplest, most profound ground of all, the breath. Not as a technique, but as a constant, faithful teacher of letting go. Watch your breath, just as it is. Inhale. The body receives. It fills. There is a natural, gentle clinging to that fullness, a brief pause at the top. Then, without any decision from you, the exhalation begins. The body releases. It lets go. It empties itself completely, giving itself back to the world. And at the bottom, there is another pause, a space, an emptiness, a complete surrender. Then, the next inhale arises, not from your will, but from life itself, eager to fill the space that the letting go has created. This is the fundamental rhythm of your existence: receive, cling briefly, release, rest in emptiness. You are doing it right now. You have done it since your first cry. You will do it until your last sigh. The Buddha pointed to this very process as a master lesson in anicca, impermanence, and anatta, not self. You do not own the breath, it flows through you. You cannot make it permanent, it is a cycle of constant arising and passing away. The only way to breathe is to let go of the last breath to make room for the next one. To cling to the inhale is to suffocate. To cling to the exhale is to cease. Your entire life is meant to move with this same rhythm. Experiences, relationships, roles, and even your very sense of self are like breaths. They arise. You receive them. You may cling for a while, that is the natural pause at the top. But health, aliveness, and growth demand the exhalation, the release, the letting go, the empty space. We suffer because we try to hold the inhale of a joyful moment forever, or we resist the exhale of a painful ending, tightening our throats against the necessary release. We forget that the empty space is not a void to fear, it is the sacred chamber where the next gift of life is prepared. Buddhism, at its heart, is not a philosophy to believe in, but a practice of aligning with this natural rhythm. It is learning to stop fighting the exhale. It is learning to trust the emptiness as much as the fullness. The peace you seek is not found in any single breath, not in the peak of joy or the depth of sorrow, but in the effortless, aware flow between them. It is in the space between the breaths where you are neither clinging nor pushing, but simply being, that you touch the timeless. I will leave you with one last story, a personal one. Several years ago, I went through a period where multiple forms of exhale happened at once. A beloved community dissolved. A long-term project ended. My health demanded a slower pace. It felt like one massive, forced exhalation. I was emptied. The pause at the bottom felt interminable, terrifying. I sat in my home, in the quiet, feeling like a bell that had been rung and was now just hollow silence. I had attached my sense of purpose to those forms, the community, the project, my productivity. Without them, I felt I was nothing. In that hollow silence, with nothing left to manage or fix, I did the only thing I could remember to do. I paid attention to my breath. I felt the raw, almost shocking emptiness at the end of the exhale. And I waited. I didn't try to force an inhale. I just trusted that it would come. And it did. Slow, shallow at first, then deeper. As I followed this simple, involuntary rhythm, hour after quiet hour, a profound understanding settled into my bones. I was not the things that had been exhaled. I was not even the activities of inhaling and exhaling. I was the space in which the entire rhythm was happening. I was the silent, aware capacity that held both the fullness and the emptiness. The forms were just the breath. I was the life. From that empty space, something new began to inhale. Not quickly. Not loudly. It was a whisper of an idea that became Monk's Temple. It was a quieter, more intimate way of connecting, born not from a need to build something big, but from a desire to share the peace of that empty space with others. It arose organically, inevitably, from the fertile ground of release. This is the final, gentle truth. Letting go is not a journey toward having nothing. It is a journey toward realizing you are the everything that remains when the transient things fall away. You are not losing your stories, you are returning to the awareness that was there before the story began. You are not abandoning people, you are ceasing to ask them to play a role in a drama that no longer serves your awakening. You are not becoming empty, you are discovering the profound fullness of presence itself. The Buddha's last words are said to have been, "All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence." It is not a pessimistic ending. It is the ultimate encouragement. Everything you cling to will change. So, your diligent work is not to build stronger cages, but to cultivate the fearless, gentle heart that can love fully without clutching, that can engage completely without needing to freeze the moment, that can say goodbye with gratitude and turn toward the next moment with an open hand. So, as we come to a close, bring your attention back to your breath. Feel the inhale, the gift of life arriving. Feel the brief, natural hold. And then, feel the exhale, the beautiful, necessary release. Follow it all the way out. And rest, for just a second, in the quiet, empty space at the bottom. That space is your true home. It is the peace that cannot be disturbed, because it is what you are. You have always known how to let go. Your body has been teaching you with every breath since you were born. Tonight, simply remember. You are the sky, not the weather. You are the spider, not the web. You are the gardener, the traveler, the silent space between the breaths. You are not losing yourself by letting go. You are, for the first time in a long time, coming home. Thank you for sharing this time and this sacred space at Monk's Temple. May you carry this sense of gentle, open-handed awareness with you. May you have the courage to exhale what is complete, and the faith to welcome what arises from the emptiness. Walk gently. Be well.